welcome back to our Narnia summer adventures. If you are reading along, you know what's happened in our story in Narnia. Hope is on the horizon. We have seen the snow melt in this land that was always winter and never Christmas. We have met Father Christmas and saw him bestow gifts on Edmond and Susan and Lucy. We've celebrated Christmas right in our backyards or in our homes this week. We celebrated Christ's coming. And as we continue in our story of Narnia, there's some hard things that have happened this week. Edmond had been a traitor, and there was laws and black magic in Narnia that says that there must be payment for this, right? But instead of Edmond having to make the payment, instead of him having to be harmed, Aslan goes in his place. And the girls see this. They see Aslan being tied up and mocked by the White Witch. And then he dies. We know that in Narnia, the story is not over, but we recognize the weight of Edmund's betrayal and what had to be paid as a result. And the same is true for us with our exes on our hearts. And so today, Pastor Chris Horn is going to teach us our Bible lesson as we understand who paid our debt. And as in Narnia, the story is not over for our hero as well. So join me in listening to Pastor Chris as he teaches us our lesson this week.
Hey everybody, welcome, daughters of Eve and sons of Adam, back to our summer Narnia adventures. So good to be with you. My name is Chris, and I love the story of Aslan and the Pevensies and the White Witch. It's so beautiful. And so it is beautiful, and I'm so excited to share this time with you today. I'm so glad that you could be here with us. So today, we're going to have some songs, as usual. We're actually going to have a new song today that will help us to remember what we're thinking about today, which is Jesus' sacrifice for us. He sacrificed for us because he loves us and wants to give us new hearts. So we have some new songs that we're really excited to listen to together. And we also have some a new memory verse rap. You might remember the memory verse from last week from Isaiah 9:6. Does anybody remember how the memory verse last week from Isaiah went? For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Y'all are doing awesome remembering these verses. It's a great thing for us to take those verses from God and to hide them in our heart. And that is part of the way that we learn to love God and to love one another and to live into this beautiful new world like the land of Narnia. So we have a new rap this morning for our verse for today. So take it away, Trip.
What's up, y'all? 1 Peter 3:18. Christ suffered for our sins once for all time. Christ suffered for our sins once for all time. once for all time.
He never sinned, but he died for sinners. He never sinned, but he died for sinners.
To bring you safely home to God, 1 Peter 3:18. Everybody shout it out. To bring you safely home to God, 1 Peter 3:18. Say it louder, say it louder. To bring you safely home to God, 1 Peter 3:18.
It's good news. And it doesn't sound like good news at first. For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God. It actually sounds a little scary. And I don't know, how did you feel when you were hearing that Aslan went to the stone table to be humiliated and killed? It's a sad and hard thing to think about. Why did Aslan have to die? Why do you think? Well, we know that the reason why Aslan went to the stone table and died was because he wanted to pay for Edmond's betrayal and giving himself over to the White Witch. So what Aslan did when he went to that stone table was he knew that there had to be a payment to release Edmond to live free in Narnia. But you know, Lucy and Susan, as they're standing there, they're so sad to see Aslan being so mistreated and grieved as he took his last breath. He was their comfort and their hope. What had happened? Can you imagine how confused they must have felt during that time? Well, you know, the same thing happened to Jesus and to his friends. Jesus' friends felt similar when they were having their own sad day. They were confused and so upset about their comfort and their hope. Jesus, who is their Aslan. And we're going to read about their sad day in our story time today. Take a listen.
The sun stops shining. "So you're a king, are you?" the Roman soldiers jeered. "Oh, then you'll need a crown and a robe." They gave Jesus a crown made out of thorns and put a purple robe on him and pretended to bow down to him. "Oh, your majesty," they said. Then they whipped him and spat on him. They didn't understand this was the Prince of Life, the King of heaven and earth, who had come to rescue them. The soldiers made him a sign, "Our King," and nailed it to a wooden cross. They walked up a hill outside the city. Jesus carried the cross on his back. Jesus had never done anything wrong, but they were going to kill him the way criminals were killed. They nailed Jesus to the cross. "Father, forgive them," Jesus gasped. "They don't understand what they're doing." "You say you've come to rescue us," people shouted. "You can't even rescue yourself." But they were wrong. Jesus could have rescued himself. A legion of angels would have flown to his side if he'd called. "If you were really the Son of God, you could just climb down off that cross," they said. And of course they were right. Jesus could have just climbed down. Actually, he could have just said a word and made it all stop, like when he healed that little girl and stilled the storm and fed 5,000 people. But Jesus stayed. You see, they didn't understand. It wasn't the nails that kept Jesus there. It was love. "Papa!" Jesus cried, frantically searching the sky. "Papa! Where are you? Don't leave me!" And for the first time, and the last, when he spoke, nothing happened. Just a horrible, endless silence. God didn't answer. He turned away from his boy. Tears rolled down Jesus' face, the face of the one who would wipe away every tear from every eye. Even though it was midday, a dreadful darkness covered the face of the world. The sun could not shine. The earth trembled and quaked. The great mountains shook. Rocks split in two until it seemed that the whole world would break. The creation itself would tear apart. The full force of the storm of God's fierce anger at sin was coming down on his own Son instead of his people. It was the only way God could destroy sin and not destroy his children, whose hearts were filled with sin. Then Jesus shouted out in a loud voice, "It is finished!" And it was. He had done it. Jesus had rescued the whole world. "Father," Jesus cried, "I give you my life." And with a great sigh, he let himself die. Strange clouds and shadows filled the sky, purple, orange, black, like a bruise. Jesus' friends gently carried Jesus. They laid Jesus in a new tomb, carved out of rock. How could Jesus die? What had gone wrong? What did it mean? They didn't know anything anymore, except they did know that their hearts were breaking. "That's the end of Jesus," the leaders said. But just to be sure, they sent strong soldiers to guard the tomb. They hauled a huge stone in front of the door to the tomb so that no one could get in or out.
Wow, what a story. Isn't it hard to hear a sad story like that? It makes us confused. Jesus, like Aslan, he was betrayed, and he was beaten with a whip, and he was crucified, which means he had to die on a cross, like this one. The cross is like the stone table where Aslan went to die. And what does it mean for us that Aslan went to die for Edmond? Well, of course it means that he loves Edmond, that he's not giving up on Edmond. And actually he's showing the greatest and deepest love for someone who had betrayed the king of Narnia by giving his life over for Edmond, that he loves him too much to give up on him. And part of what I'm amazed by in the story of Aslan and Edmond and the stone table is I have my Aslan costume here. It's a little weird. Where are my ears at? Oh. When Aslan went to the stone table, not only did he give himself over to die, but do you remember what the White Witch did to him? What did she do to his mane? That's right, she shaved it, she cut it off. Now why would she do that? Why would she take his mane off? Well, she wanted to humiliate him. She wanted to embarrass him. And what's amazing is that Aslan would move into that he would allow himself to be embarrassed and humiliated. And that same thing happened to Jesus. When he went to the cross, the people that were sending him to die thought that they were humiliating him and beating him. And they actually put him up on the cross without any clothes. That was their way of cutting off his mane and embarrassing him. But what's beautiful is that no one made Jesus do that. He chose to do it. Remember from the storybook story we just read, that it wasn't the nails that held Jesus to the cross. He could have come down. He could have called a legion of angels. What held Jesus there was love. He was willing to be embarrassed and killed because he loves us. And he wants to pay the payment for us betraying him so that we could have a new heart and a new life. Just like Edmond had betrayed God, have betrayed Aslan, we have betrayed God. So I want to spend a minute thinking together about how we have disobeyed God and how we betrayed him. It can be a little confusing sometimes, but for each of us, our hearts have a way of wandering away from God and going to people like the White Witch that will hurt us and have us hurt others. So I have some sticky notes here that look like hearts. And I've got some yellow sticky notes. You might have some of these around, or you might be able to draw a heart and cut it out from paper. And what I'm writing here on my sticky notes is some of the things that Jesus had to take on for me at the cross on his own stone table. What did Jesus have to go pay the penalty for me? Well, I'm going to write down one thing, and that's my anger. It's so easy for me to become angry, and see, my heart is very yellow and sick. And Jesus took that on the cross. Let's see. What's something else? Oh, yes. I am always wanting what is not mine and taking it from others. And Jesus came. He took that on the cross. How about one more? I got one. How about not trusting God? Trying to take care of myself and not allowing God to be my king and trusting him. Jesus took that too. And I wonder what you would write on your heart sticky for ways that you feel that you've turned away from God. And as we put these things on the cross, here's what I want you to say as you consider these things. God loved us so much, he sent Jesus to die for us. Not only did he take the punishment for our sins, he takes these, and with the cross, he just takes them away. Hopefully that didn't break. Jesus, take it away. Just like the stone table broke when Aslan gave himself over for Edmond. So Jesus took those things away from us. The cross broke. And now he gives us perfect new hearts. This one's very pink and healthy looking, like a heart should be. And Jesus gives us a new heart. And when we get Jesus' new hearts, we can say, so forever and ever, we would be able to walk and talk with God because we were given Jesus' perfect love. We put our arms wide like this. Repeat after me. Because Jesus died on the cross, I am loved and forgiven by the Father. And for everything that he went through, do you know what that means? That means that he's not going to give up on you. That means that he's not done with you yet. And that means that he loves you forever. Let's pray. Lord, thank you, Lord Jesus, that you love us, that you take our disobedience from you, the ways that we betrayed you and we trusted the yucky things of the world. Oh, Lord, and you take them away by your death. And you pay to give us new hearts. So, Lord, teach us to walk and talk with you in your love. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. So wonderful to be with you, daughters of Eve and sons of Adam, today. God bless you. Remember that Jesus gave himself up willingly for you. Because remember, for Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God. Amen. Go in peace.
Thanks for watching Life Tree Kids.
There's power, there's wonder working power. There's power, there's wonder working power. There is power like anything can happen. Can't hardly wait to see what's next. I wanna face this world with wonder and excitement. Face every challenge every day.